Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we have two brand new units for Total War Warhammer 3 for the Greenskin factions, but still two new units. Orc boys with spears and generic goblins with sword and shield. I've seen some people say that these aren't too exciting, but I would say that one, and the most important part, these units will no longer be used to take up DLC space where we could instead get something more unique and much more exciting. So let's talk about these units because they're quite important for your Greenskin campaign in all honesty. At the very beginning, you'll be able to recruit them from the Tier 1 building. It must be stated here that at a certain point, hopefully in the next coming DLC, which is going to feature the Greenskins, we might see a rework of the buildings because Orc boys and generic goblins at the bottom, Night goblins, which are basically Tier 1 and Tier 2 units, for some reason are Tier 3 and Tier 4. But yeah, you'll be able to pick them up from the very start of your campaign if you have the generic melee building. Meaning that you'll have access to a very cheap expendable unit in the form of the goblins, and you'll actually have a fairly decent anti-large trooper from the very beginning of your campaign with the Orc boys with spears. One thing I will note is I really do like the new unit cards for these guys. It doesn't really fit though with the current ones for that race. But yeah, the goblins themselves, weaker versions of the orcs, but very similar, comparable in terms of stats with the spear goblins. It's an expendable unit. It's not the best, but keep that in mind. It's there to just hold the line, be a tar pit, whilst you're getting other units to flank the enemy, or even just to, like, spells, anything really. It's a pretty interesting thing to see them in action, though, I would say, because when you've got them fighting against Orc boys, so I've got this as even as possible, so 2 units of goblins on my side versus 2 units of Orc boys, and then I've got 2 units of Orc boys fighting 2 units of Orc boys. I'll be triggering the war, because the AI also does that too, so to keep things fair. They perform fairly well. This is custom battles on normal, by the way, so no stat bonuses towards the enemy. Obviously, when you're in campaign, there will be some stat changes, and technology comes into effect. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with how well these basic sword and shield goblins performed in battle. I was expecting them to die out a lot quicker. They didn't really last that long because at the end of the day they're still just basic goblins, but this was from a 2-minute clip before everything started going downhill. Well, by that, you know, the orcs overwhelming the goblins and stuff, but yeah, the damage was really good. For a top hit unit, it's definitely something that people are going to be recruiting early on, especially if you're playing as like Scarsnake, where you're incentivized to use goblins. You won't have access to night goblins from the very beginning, or maybe Grom the Paunch, just in case you don't always want spears, because these guys will be a little bit cheaper too. So yeah, not bad at all. The Orc boys with spears are probably going to be the most noticeable units, mostly because, well, you know, you're going from goblin to orc. Stats are quite different, and yeah, you pretty much have no need to use goblin spear units unless you're theming your armies, which a lot of people still do, by the way, so that's obviously quite an important thing. Yeah, no complaints. Charge defense versus large is quite good. You get some anti-large damage over there, and it's very noticeable, especially when you're playing as Grimgore, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of ogres. Now you have a better fighting power against the ogres very early on. So here I'm just going to show them in combat. Now keep in mind that these are stone trolls. Stone trolls, and well, most trolls can actually regenerate, so they will last a little bit longer than expected. But yeah, you can see that the damage is not too bad, actually. It's fairly good. I was really impressed here. These are basic units. Again, I know some people aren't too excited about this, but keep this in mind. This hasn't taken a DLC slot. If different patches can keep coming in and introducing free units, and maybe even free generic lords and heroes every now and then, with this kit bash mentality, because obviously there's not a lot of new animations that need to be done here. I actually don't think there's a lot of new animations. I haven't seen that many new animations. We could potentially start seeing, well, there's a lot of stuff missing for the orcs and goblins, let's be honest there. Personally, I would love, for example, a bunch more savage orcs to be introduced. I know some people would like to see the remaining night goblins, or maybe even some more missing orcs and stuff. So it would be great to see this happening. The Chaos Warriors have some missing weapon variants for all the different gods. So yeah, this stuff like this does add in a lot more value to the game. Remember, these are free units. I think that this has been a massive push forward by Creative Assembly, and I really, really hope that they've got this in mind for future patches. We're supposed to be getting future patches like this in a much more regular occurrence, and stuff like this will be a shining part to any patch. If anyone from Creative Assembly is listening, there are a bunch of Lord and Hero variants for the Greenskins that are currently missing that, let's be honest, would just be kind of reskinned. Nothing really new. Savage Orc Lord and Heroes, for example, the remaining spellcasters that could be changed from just because we've got Lord variants or we've got Hero variants, but we don't have both. It would be such a wonderful thing to get. Yes, this is very heavily focusing on the Greenskins, but I'm thinking about the Greenskins right now, and it could be done for a bunch of other races. It just depends where it's applicable, where it's allowed, not only by Creative Assembly, but also by Games Workshop. Obviously, I'm thinking ahead of myself. If it's just units, that's perfectly fine too, because it's filling out the roster where it needs to be. And that way, the DLCs can focus around the big and wonderful things, like, for example, the Colossal Squig that's currently missing, the Squig Gobber, well, pretty much just a lot of Squig stuff. Here's hoping that's what they have in mind. What do you guys think about the new units? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I am pretty much done with the videos today. I am going to go out for a little bit of a walk, and then I'm going to come back and play with these new units in my own personal campaign. I'll see you all very soon. Have a great day, guys.